Hi guys, it is Saturday night. Probably not when you're watching this, but it's Saturday night for me right now. I've got a nice cold apple juice and the wife is out at a bachelorette party where she is paying money to make her own sushi. $90 to make your own sushi. I'll never understand the ladies. Anyway, I figured why not turn on the cameras and talk about my favorite lens for the A7IV. You are looking at it right now, the 24mm G Master 1.4. I held off on buying this lens until the A7IV came out, and then I pounced. So let's have a proper Saturday night and party like I do, talking about cameras in my basement. All right, here we go. Now, the 24mm G Master is pretty much a perfect lens when paired with the A7IV, at least for me and what I do, and not just for video, which is why I bought it certainly, but also for photos. I take a lot of landscape photos, and I found that I really like the 24mm focal length. I don't like when things are too wide. I don't like when they're too narrow. The 24 is a good focal length for me to be able to take my landscape photos, but really video. Video is the star of the show here, and the A7IV has made this lens something that I can use on a daily basis, and one of the reasons is this fantastic focus breathing compensation you have in the A7IV. Like if I move in, or I move out, look at that, nothing. And the G Master lenses, they a lot of them have trouble with the focus breathing, and now that the A7IV has corrected this, which is one of the main reasons that I bought this camera over any other camera, was the idea of the focus breathing. Now I can buy these fancy lenses that aren't just good for photos, but also for video, and you don't have the screen going in and out. I gotta tell you, I do not like focus breathing. I find it very distracting, and the fact that it is completely eliminated on the A7IV means my 24mm, my fantastic G Master lens, is my new video lens. And it doesn't stop there. Now, other Sony cameras actually have this, but the APS-C crop mode. Oh, I love the APS-C crop mode on my A7IV, because right now this is actually what you're looking at. This is the field of view. So in my little studio, I love a 35mm focal length, the way it looks. So on right now you're looking at about roughly a 36mm focal length. Now that I've gone into APS-C crop mode, still plenty of pixels for sharp 4K. Now, it is not exactly the same type of look you're going to get from a 35mm. The compression will look slightly different, and also you're not using the full IQ of the sensor, but honestly, it's imperceptible from what I am looking at in this little studio. And so now I have my studio lens at 35mm, and then when I go out vlogging, I'm out on the streets, I have a 24mm, which is really good focal length for me. And vlogging, I have a little tripod with a little extender stick if I need a little extra reach, because sometimes if you're holding the camera too close, then 24 can be a bit tight. I find at arm's length, it's quite good. If I have a little stick, like I have my Ulanzi stick, and I extend it out just a couple of inches, it is absolutely perfect. Here's the Ulanzi stick right here. It looks like a regular little tripod, and then you extend it about that much, and it's just great. In fact, let's go out and take a look. That tree is big, buddy. You see how convenient this lens is. I am out here in the middle of a kids park with my wife, who won't stop talking, and my children, who won't stop interrupting me. But you see how they blend into the background? They're tone. Nobody can see them or hear them anymore. I wish there was a tone for volume. You know, well, I guess I'm using the lavalier mic. That's about as close as you can get. But then I'm just sitting right in front of the lens here. I am touching it right now. It is about, I don't know, 1.5 feet away from me, and my toddler is coming to destroy my fancy camera. Oh, hi, buddy. I don't know what a Sask is, but my 3-year-old wants it. I'll be right back. And now I am vlogging as I walk away from a noisy family. I'm at F1.4. Yeah, you hear that? I'm going to Mexico, and I ain't ever coming back. 1.4, that is a little too much background blur, in my opinion, but you can do it if you want to shut the world out. You know what I mean? Let's go down to F2.0. That's what I normally use when I'm out. Now f2 when you're out vlogging, to me this is just about right. Just the right amount of background blur. The bokeh looks nice. It's not too distracting. It still looks like you exist in the world instead of some dreamland state, but it's very nice to be able to go to the 1.4, not just for the blurry background, but of course for low light situations. When you're in a really low light situation for photos and video, having that 1.4 is a very, very good thing. And right now I'm using my favorite Catalyst browse to stabilize my footage because I like the way my young fellow just fell off the monkey bars, but I think he did it on purpose, so he's okay. Anyway, I like the Catalyst browse because I get that gimbal-like footage, but you can switch this to active steady shot. Let's see what that looks like on the 24mm, see if it's too tight. So this is the active steady shot that Sony has, which actually works quite well even with a non-stabilized lens like this G Master. And I gotta say, I think that field of view is not too tight. I like this as a focal length for vlogging, and now I don't have to take that extra step and run it through Catalyst browse. Anyway, I am getting pretty far away from the family. I better go back. The lens just balances so well on the camera. It's just the right size. I mean, it's like it was built for the camera, or I guess the A7IV came after, so maybe the A7IV was built for the 24mm. There's also a 35mm focal length, but then I don't get that vlogging thing, you know? So the 35 would be good if you're just doing studio only now with the focus breathing compensation. But I like having the 24mm for the vlogging, and there's also another thing you can do, which is you can do the active crop on the A7IV. Let me just show you all of the different focal lengths. Hang on. So this is the actual 24mm. I've taken it off APS-C crop mode. You can see my messy studio, my apple juice over here, and also my light, my microphone. Okay, so yeah, this is, you know, and also I seem to have the camera a little askew. What are you gonna do? It's Saturday night. We're having a party. You know what I mean? But there's also another mode. You go into the active steady shot on the A7IV and it crops in a little bit more. So let's go from 24mm to, this is about a 27mm. Look, you know what? I gotta correct this. I can see that the line is off. Here we go. Oh, that's better for the OCD right there. So this one is about a 27mm focal length, and now we'll go back to the APS-C crop. Back to the APS-C crop, which is what I was doing from the beginning, but of course we can do the active steady shot on this mode as well. And now we're at almost a 40mm focal length. Do you see that? 4 different focal lengths out of this one lens, and it's all G Master quality. So I bought one G Master lens and I have 4 different focal lengths to choose from. Yes, that applies to all of the other lenses that you will buy for Sony, but my point is the 24mm is exactly around the range that I wanted, and now I can choose between these different focal lengths, and oh boy. Now there is one lens that I think could sway you away from the 24mm G Master in the way that I use it, and that is the 20mm 1.8 G lens from Sony as well. It's got that nice aperture ring, just like the G Master. It's got the manual autofocus switch, like the G Master, and a little focus hole button. It's built extremely well. It looks super nice, and the fact is, it is just that 20mm when you're outside, you're vlogging, or you're in a tighter space, that 20mm might be better for you. And then if you switch it into APS-C crop mode, you're at 30mm, and then you switch it into the active steady shot, and then you're talking about maybe 32. It's very close to what this is right now. Maybe I should have bought that lens, but the thing is, I have a G Master. And the 20 for me is just a little too wide. I like the way that the 24 makes my old mug look. You know, I look a little less monstrous. When things get too wide, I start to look too weird. Most people do, you know, like people with the iPhones and the wide angles, and you just don't want your face all crazy distorted. So I like to go, 24 is the widest I like to go when I'm filming myself, usually in terms of being aesthetically pleasing. When I want people to desire me physically. Makes me look like Tom Brady, exactly like Tom Brady. Whereas the wide angle lens, you know, not quite as good. You know, maybe a Troy Aikman. Now I know $1,400 is an expensive lens, but for a G Master, it's as cheap as you can get. I bought the cheapest G Master that I could that also covers me in my studio and outside when I'm vlogging, and it's one of my favorite focal lengths to take photos. So to me, it was worth it because I literally use this lens every single day. I got the S-Log3 going here. You gotta have a great lens if you want to capture all of that information that the Slog 3 gives you. You know what I mean? Get yourself a night, treat yourself. Once in a while. This is my only really nice lens, and I also use it on my little ZV-E10 because the 24 millimeters, boom, 36 millimeters on the ZV-E10 automatically. But it's just two focal lengths, the 36 millimeter and roughly about a 50 millimeter when you go into the active crop on the ZV-E10. But you guys are fans of the channel, and you should be fans of the channel. You see me using the 24 millimeter G Master on the ZV-E10 a lot. And I was like, it's a $700 camera. You throw that lens on there, you have an excellent image, and it didn't cost that much more than a lot of setups. So to buy, say, an A7C and the kit lens would cost basically about the same as getting a ZV-E10 and a 24 millimeter G Master. So to me, you get a good lens, you know, and it's going to outlast all of these cameras, and I'm sure Sony's going to keep putting in that focus breathing compensation, so I'm good. I'm happy. You know, sometimes you buy something and you have the buyer's remorse. With this lens, I actually never did because the A7IV and all of the fanciness that it can do, oh boy. So that's just my Saturday night nonsense. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already. Now, if you don't mind, I got to go put on my Tom Brady jersey because the wife is going to come back all liquored up, and she likes it when I wear that. You know what I mean? When I have a 20 on there, I look like Shia LaBeouf or some you know, Topher Grace. I look like garbage. Sorry, guys. Topher and Shia are handsome men. They were just the first two that came to my brain.